20 years from now, the Xavier Institute for Mutant Education and Outreach. The institute lies in ruins. Fires blaze and smoke rises. A figure wearing a brown cloak walks across the institute grounds, past the motionless bodies. The figure stops when it comes to the body of my father, Cyclops.
None of this is right,
he remarks. Looking around, he sees several more bodies strewn about, including Storm, Kitty Pryde, Colossus, Beast, Iceman, and Shark Girl.
That old bastard screwed this all up,
The figure declares.
leaving me to clean up his mess.
The figure adds as a surge of blue energy surrounds him and vanishes. Later, the time-displaced Cyclops and Bloodstorm dinner gets interrupted. The diabolical time pirate known as Ahab bursts through a window, with 2 savage hounds at his side.
Good evening, Cyclops.
Ahab calls out. He raises his harpoon spear and remarks,
My, you are as young as they say. Much younger than the last time we met. Not much more than a baby.
before ordering his hounds to bring Cyclops to him.
A friend of yours, I take it.
Bloodstorm asks.
Never seen him before, but those hounds, they look like...
Cyclops' voice trails off, as he tells Bloodstorm that he will keep the hounds distracted while she gets everyone out of here.
How chivalrous of you.
Bloodstorm responds.
It's not that. You heard him. Pegleg wants me.
Scott calls back. Bloodstorm turns to the civilians in the restaurant and exclaims,
Do as you're instructed. Blood bags. Leave out the back exit so that we can deal with this threat.
as Cyclops fires an optic blast at the male hound and calls out.
All right, Pirate Man. Not sure who you are or what you want, but...
However, the female hound grabs him, and despite being gagged, she tells her master that she has him.
Get off!
Bloodstorm shouts as she punches the hound hard, knocking her backwards.
See? We make a great team.
Bloodstorm tells Cyclops as she starts to help him up, when suddenly Ahab shoves his harpoon through Bloodstorm's chest before letting her drop into Cyclops' arms.
Bloodstorm!
Scott screams as Ahab reveals that he had his harpoon laced with silver for such occasions.
The future is lousy with them. The worst of two worlds.
Ahab declares.
You killed her!
Cyclops exclaims, tears streaming down his face.
Of course I did. You'll be joining us soon enough, Scott Summers, as will the rest of mutant kind.
Ahab responds before ordering his hounds to take Cyclops down. The hounds leap towards Cyclops, who fires a powerful, wide-optic blast at them, which knocks the hounds and Ahab back through the restaurant and into the street outside. Ahab starts to sit up and points out that it seems Cyclops is more advanced in his training than he had anticipated. Something more than the child he appears to be.
A mistake I won't make again.
Ahab vows, before warning Cyclops that he will see him again. And soon, before he and his hounds vanish in a glow of blue energy.
No! Don't you run!
Cyclops calls after Ahab, firing an optic blast towards him. But by the time the energy strikes, there is only the road to hit.
Come back here and fight me!
Cyclops shouts as a fire breaks out in the restaurant behind him.
Coward!
Cyclops exclaims. Civilians start to record Cyclops on their mobile phones as he goes back into the restaurant and sees the motionless Bloodstorm, a pool of blood forming around her. He drops to his knees, covers his face.
Bloodstorm, I'm so sorry.
He utters as he picks her up and walks out of the restaurant while telepathically calling out to Jean, informing her that they have a code blue at a theater. Bobby! Jean's voice resonates in Bobby's head as Bobby reclines in a chair in the dark theater. His thoughts inform Jean that he is watching a play and that it took him months to get these tickets, adding,
Jefferson is about to sign the Declaration of...
But Jean interrupts him, telling him that he needs to get back to the Institute.
But...
Bobby begins to reply as Jean informs him that there is a code blue. Bobby gets to his feet and excuses himself as he moves past the other theatergoers.
What sort of emergency?
He asks Jean, who tells him that it is Bloodstorm, and to hurry. Bobby slides out of the theater on an ice-sled, unaware that a cloaked figure is watching him from a nearby rooftop. Bobby mutters that he isn't even back in New York for more than a couple of hours before an emergency breaks out, and remembers that back in his time they had some R&R days even.
And there was only one of me back then.
He adds, deciding that he needs to talk to older Bobby about setting up some sort of Freaky Friday situation. When suddenly, a blast of fiery energy sends him crashing from his ice slide to the ground. Bobby bounces along the ground before coming to a stop.
Show yourself!
He shouts.
Or are you just going to shoot at me from the shadows like some sort of...
Bobby asks, before being knocked back into a clothing store as more blasts are fired at him.
I guess that answers that.
Bobby decides as he quickly throws up an ice shield in front of him to deflect some of the weapon's fire. But one shot strikes him in the back, knocking him into a rack of clothes. He falls to the floor. Get up. A voice calls out.
Wait!
Bobby utters, in shock, before he realizes that the voice is coming from me.
Tell me that it's not you shooting at me.
Bobby asks. I extended my hand and tell Bobby that we need to get him out of here.
Who the hell is that?
Bobby asks, as we both duck behind a corner as more fiery blasts are shot at us. I tell Bobby that I will cover him, while Bobby should make a break for it. But Bobby tells me that he isn't running and leaving me here. It's important that you get back to the mansion. The future depends on it, I announced.
It's just not happening.
Bobby replies, as he creates some ice golems to keep our attacker distracted, before a dart is shot into Bobby's neck, knocking him out with a surge of energy. The Xavier Institute for Mutant Education and Outreach shortly after. Scott, I'm so sorry, Marvel Girl utters as she runs into the corridor as Cyclops rushes inside. Is Bloodstorm? Angel asks, as Cyclops asks where Rachel Gray is.
Rachel, I know you can hear me.
Cyclops shouts, opening a door to a living area, with Marvel Girl and Angel following him. Scott, what's... Rachel Gray, also known as Prestige, asks, as Cyclops announces that Bloodstorm was killed. Killed by a man who had 2 hounds with him, with the same stripes on their faces as Rachel.
Who is he? Where do I find that bastard?
Scott shouts, causing Rachel to step backwards. Wide-eyed, she asks what the man looked like.
Like some sort of techno-pirate. Purple peg-leg spear.
Cyclops tells her. It can't be, Rachel utters, hanging her head. You know who it is? Marvel Girl asks her, and Rachel tells her that it is Ahab. Rachel explains that Ahab is the one that did this to her, turned her into a hound, kept her prisoner and tortured her, forced her to help him hunt down other mutants. Rachel suddenly realizes that would explain why her facial markings were back. I thought I'd beaten it. He's not supposed to be here. Rachel remarks as Cyclops, tears streaming down under his glasses, exclaims.
Well, he is. He tried to kill me. Bloodstorm got in the way. And, just tell me, how do I find him?
Are you talking about Bobby?
The Beast asks as he joins the others in the corridor, informing them that Bobby hasn't checked in yet, and he can't raise him.
Is he okay?
Beast asks. Back in the alley, I called out to Bobby, who convulses on the ground, unable to get up thanks to the dart that is stuck in his neck. I reached out for Bobby and tell him that it is okay. But as I tried to take hold of Bobby, an explosion knocks me backwards.
You're too slow, old man.
The figure obscured by the brown cloak declares as he moves in closer. How? I asked, as the mysterious assailant raises his weapon towards me.
This is your fault, Cable. Everything that happens now is because you neglected to do your duty.
He exclaimed. You're wrong. I then grabbed a handful of clothes and tossed them at the mystery assailant, covering his face and enabling myself to lunge forward and grab him, forcing him to the ground. They needed them to see. Needed to see what they became so that they could go back with that knowledge and be better. So we could be better, I exclaimed, as I grabbed the assailant's large gun and tossed it away. It was a risk worth taking, I added. Back at the Xavier Institute, I can't find Bobby anywhere, Marvel Girl announces as she uses Cerebro to try and find her teammate. Cyclops, Beast, and Angel are with her, as are Kitty Pryde and Prestige. Marvel Girl adds that there was a blip, and then nothing. Is he? Kitty begins to ask, but Marvel Girl interrupts her and explains that she doesn't know, adding that it is like he just went offline. She can't see him anymore. This is my fault. If Ahab's here, it's because of me, Rachel remarks, but Kitty tells her friend that it is not her fault. Marvel Girl continues to use Cerebro and informs the others that Bobby wasn't alone, that there are 2 others. One of them has some sort of psi shield. She can sense they are there, but not who they are, as if they were a void. Cyclops leans into Marvel Girl and asks her if it is Ahab, but she tells him that she doesn't know before revealing that the other one is me. Beast asks Marvel Girl if she can see the other person through my eyes, to which Marvel Girl offers to try, adding that I am not very perceptive to people poking around in my head.
Someone killed Bloodstorm. We can only pray that they haven't killed Bobby.
Beast declares. Back in the alley.
Listen to you.
The mystery assailant exclaims as he reveals a small gun and shoot me with it, blasting me at close range and knocking me back. I tried crawling towards the weapon I took from the attacker earlier.
Look at you. You got old, soft, weak.
The mystery assailant declares as he reached the weapon before I do. You're making a mistake, I uttered, while the assailant tells me that I have outlived my usefulness.
Cable, you're relieved of your duty.
The mystery assailant announces as he fired 2 powerful weapons at me. Point blank close range. He then tosses the weapon aside and starts to walk away.
Old fool. You really should have seen that coming.
The mystery assailant remarks. Marvel Girl screams as she stands up, a psychic backlash knocking the others aside as she falls to the platform Cerebro sits on. Cyclops asks Jean what happened and if she is okay, but as Jean removes Cerebro, she utters, "No, it's Cable. He's dead." The mystery assailant goes back into the alleyway where the motionless Iceman lays. He picked Bobby up and throw him over his shoulder.
Body slide by 2.
The mystery assailant remarks before he vanishes with Bobby.
How?
Cyclops utters as he sits beside my body. The Beast puts his arms around Marvel Girl while Kitty tells Rachel that she is so sorry.
Tell me it's not true. Please.
Rachel gasps as she moves past Angel to get closer to my body.
No, Nathan.
Rachel screams as she throws her arms around me. Cyclops tells Rachel that he is sorry, but that time is not on their side. He asks her if this was Ahab, if it was him who did this. Still hugging my body, Rachel tells Cyclops that she doesn't think so, adding that she doesn't know how to put it into words, but that she doesn't sense Ahab here. I would feel him, I'm sure. This feels different. Like, Rachel begins, interrupted by the arrival of 2 new arrivals. The present day, Jean Grey and Kurt Wagner, also known as Nightcrawler.
Jean.
The present day, Jean Grey calls out to her younger self. She goes over to her and puts a hand on her face, revealing that she could hear her psychic scream 3,000 feet under the ocean, and that they followed as quickly as they could.
Is it true? Is Cable?
Jean's voice trails off, as her younger self replies, "I'm afraid so." Jean Grey turns and looks down at my body.
My son.
She whispers.
Mein Gott.
Nightcrawler gasps as he goes over to Cyclops, who announces that they got Bloodstorm, that he was there but couldn't stop them. Nightcrawler tells Cyclops not to worry, and that this will not go unanswered. And now, Bobby's gone. God, what's going on? Marvel Girl wonders, covering her face. Jean Grey tells her that she doesn't know, and vows that whoever killed her son will pay for it.
He, was using a psi shield, so they're smart enough to know to protect themselves from us. But that doesn't mean we won't find them.
Jean declares, before announcing that she can track Bobby to this spot, but then his trail ends here, as she steps out to where Bobby's body was last seen. Jean tells the others that they are looking for a teleporter, and Cyclops tells her that Ahab teleported away earlier.
It won't happen again. He's going to pay for what he's done.
Jean Grey promises, before Rachel tells everyone that what happened here was not Ahab.
Then he's working with someone. More hounds?
Cyclops suggests, but Rachel reveals that Ahab's hounds don't go anywhere without him. Kitty tells the other X-Men that she refuses to believe that 2 attacks and 2 dead X-Men in the space of hours is a coincidence. If it's not Ahab, then who? Kitty wonders. An undisclosed location, where 5 stasis tanks are lined up. Bobby is inside one of them. The mystery assailant touches a panel that seems to be monitoring Bobby's vitals, before he remove his cloak and walk over to a series of computer monitors.
1 down.
He remarks as he taps at a keyboard.
4 to go.
He declares, stepping into the light, he is revealed to be a younger version of me.